order of the Newman City Council and Redevelopment Agency of July 24, 2007. Please stand for the pledge and the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You'd all bow your heads, please. Lord, give us the wisdom and the knowledge to make some intelligent decisions for the people of Newman tonight. Thank you. Amen. Amen.
Intelligent being the key word.
Darn right.
Thank you, Ted. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Caton,
Present.
Councilmember Kelly,
Present.
Councilmember Crinklow,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Martinez,
Present.
Mayor Fanzetta.
Present. Declarations of conflicts of interest. I believe by any this evening. Ceremonial matters. None this evening. Items from the public, non-agenda items. If anybody has anything that they would like to bring before the council that is not on the posted agenda, please come to the podium.
Good evening. My name is Ricardo Romo. I live at 1289 Amy Drive. I've been a Newmanite for 27 years now. And I'm here today to inquire about the baseball committee. Not happy, not pleased. So I'm just hoping that the city council will help me take it back. Any questions?
No, just that, as you know, I have a lot of complaints this year about it, and I've been checking with some other cities like our size and how they handle their baseball programs, and I'm still gathering information, but, we still have time since it just ended, but I intend to, find information from other cities, what they do, how they're handling it, and we'll go from there.
All right.
Yep.
Carl? Go ahead, Ted.
Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead. Go.
Carl, are you one of the coaches or one of the parents? What's
Yeah,
your
I was
capacity?
an involved coach, parent, I coached T-ball this year. Years past, I've coached, I helped coach softball. I'm involved with my kids for the program. And it's all about the kids, but you got some of these board members who are coaches who influence some of the calls during the game. And I don't think that's right.
So that's the main problem that you're having?
I think if you're a board member, you should not be able to be a coach or a head coach in that matter. Because they'll come out and, what the rule says this, but they say that they gave every head coach and a copy of the rules, which is not true. Not every coach got a copy of the rules. They're playing by the Stanislaus County Baseball of the Youth, and I had to download it myself from the internet and research some of the rules that they're playing by. Well, they have their own amended rules that they can switch whenever they want. All year long we play by a certain rule. If first base is occupied, batter cannot run to first. But then another coach brought it up that if there's 2 outs, you can run to first. So they switched it on the girls before the tournament. And we've been playing all year long. First base is occupied, you're out.
Could you do us a favor? Write down what your gripes. I'd like to know. I haven't been watching. Didn't get out there to watch the baseball.
Well, on myself alone, I got 3 personal gripes against the board.
No, but just write them down for us, please, and then bring them. Let's see them. I'd like to see it and talk about it.
Okay.
That's horse manure. This has been going on for how many years? Not here. I'm not talking here. Everywhere I've ever lived. And I was fortunate. I played a lot of ball in my day, but never had this kind of thing. So this is, I'd just like to hear what are the gripes. Write them down so we know exactly what you're talking about and we can discuss it. Mm-hmm. But I know John already said, I know they're looking into it already. Trust me, there's been enough voices raised. But excellent. Good for coming out.
I just don't want to let it die down.
Good for you.
So
it's your kids.
If you guys see me out here every meeting, I'm not gonna let it die down, you know. And I personally went around and had signatures from. It's not an official petition to have it taken away from the board. The board is doing an outstanding job, okay. But if I send a complaint to them, who else is gonna handle it? They see it themselves, and that's where it ends. My wife sent 3 letters to them, not one response back from them. I sent one, I got one back. I don't know. Must be afraid of me or something.
That's good.
That's
that's
why we
about
want to
it.
hear from you.
You know,
Well,
so-
my question,
Good,
I'm
good.
sure what you're saying is actually they're starting with rules at the beginning of the season, and then they're modifying those rules as they go along.
yeah.
Yeah, you see a lot of that, and of course, I watch a lot of softball, baseball,
Well,
and
yeah.
I see it with the youth groups, and I see a lot of that. It's very confusing.
It
It's got
is.
to be confusing to the parents and the children and everyone else. So.
Yeah, I mean, a couple weekends ago, we went to a Houston tournament for the All-Stars, which Cross Landing, which my daughter played on. And same rules. We looked like rookies out there. You know, we didn't look like we knew what we were doing. The girl scores up for a bunt, and we played by the same rules. The girl scored up for a bunt. Our pitcher stopped. What they called it a balk. You know, we should be playing by the same rules. If we're in Stanislaus County, we should be playing by the rules. Exact same rules. And that's all I got to say about that.
I'd just like to comment, and one of my comments was going to be tonight, I was going to ask our city manager for an update on what status was. Since I was the one who initially brought it to the forefront, because I witnessed myself, when I started hearing complaints, I went and started observing something, and I did see what I perceived to be intimidation by some of the coaches to some of the younger umpires. And when I inquired about it, I found out that some of these coaches were also board members, and that concerned me, because the umpire, his comment to me was, "What am I supposed to do? He's a board member." So that did concern me. But I think the complaints are there. Whether or not they're all valid, I don't know. And Michael, I was going to, again, as council comment, I was going to ask you tonight to update us on what you had. I knew you were going to meet with the board and try to.
Yeah, we're scheduled to meet Monday morning at 9
Okay.
a.m. with
And
the
I
president
just-
and another board member.
I just think it's important that we have some communication, that we just try to get on the same board. If there's issues, let's try to work them out. And whether or not they stay as a board and power the Little League program, you know, that's not a real concern to me. As long as it's run fairly, we run a good program for our kids, and that we try to alleviate some of the problems that have gone on. And so, and I suggested that maybe we have one of our rec commissioners part of that board. You know, I don't know. I think there's some answers. I think there's some ideas that we all need to be on the same page, and let's try to work out the issues, because, you know, I think we all agree it's for the benefit of our children, not those parents who are coaching.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, Phyllis.
Hang on.
So that's all I have to say. I would like to see us continue to look into it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ricky.
Thank you.
Phyllis?
My name's Phyllis Peepler. I live at 1032 Main Street in Newman. Two things. For 4 years, I was the Parks and Rec Commissioner. And during that 4 years, not one time did a board member of the baseball board come to us and tell us that they were having any problems. And it was my understanding that the baseball board was to solve any issues, and if they could not solve the issue with the parent, an umpire, a child, whatever, they were supposed to bring those issues to the rec board. I was on it for 4 years, and not one time did they ever come. And we're not on the board for the baseball, because we're really not invited.
Well, it was merely just a suggestion that maybe we ought to look at having one of our rec
Oh, okay.
commissioners
I thought you
be
were
a
saying
part of that
we
board.
were,
No,
because
it was merely a suggestion.
I've gone to a couple meetings, and they don't make you feel welcome. They really don't.
Well, and
We've heard that.
those are some things that I think we need to work out.
Sure. Come up to the mic, Dwight.
My name is Dwight Wilkins. I live at 646,
Where do you live,
can't even
Dwight?
remember.
Dwight, you
where
forgot
I
where you
live.
live.
Man, 646 Black
Dwight, do you live in
Mountain
Newman?
Lane. I had a conversation with one of the coaches recently that coached last year, and what I heard was that this coach told me that he had to clean up before the games, he had to clean up after the games. They only got, according to him, 16 game balls for the whole year. And the other thing that I heard from him was that the parents don't want to volunteer. All they want to do is ask him when they're going to pick his kids up to take them to the ball game. Now, this is some of the stuff I've been hearing. I had daughters, and my girls weren't interested in sports, so I never got interested in this baseball stuff or the baseball program. And the only reason I'm learning anything is because I'm having to ask questions of people. And it's like what I'm hearing is not very good. I get the impression that the baseball board, after the questions I heard, really didn't have their act together. I heard that they were canceling tournament games, moving tournament games around and everything else after they'd been scheduled. And I agree with him. I don't think that the board members should be allowed to coach. I think they should be board members so that they can settle any arguments that come along. And this is just my little comment on this subject.
Thank you, Dwight.
Thanks, Dwight.
I've heard most of the same complaints as you. Any other non-agenda items? Seeing none, agenda items, when an item comes before us and you'd like to comment, please come to the podium, state your name and address, and try to keep your comments under 3 minutes. Public hearings, we have none this evening. Number 9, consent calendar. A, waive all readings of ordinances and resolutions except by title. B, approval of warrants. And C, approval of minutes of July 10th, 2007 regular meeting. Michael, you want to just explain A?
Yeah, that's as you know, we've been, when we adopt ordinances, we waive the reading of it except by title. This is a new thing that we've added to all consent agendas at the recommendation of our city attorney. So that puts aside the requirement to waive the reading as we go through and adopt ordinances in the future.
It's kind of a housekeeping matter to simplify things.
That's correct.
Okay. With that said, any questions on the consent calendar? If not, some direction.
I move for approval.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. 10, regular business. Item A, introduction and waiving of first reading of an ordinance number 2007, next to number adding prohibition against underage drinking and social host liability to Title 9.11 of the Newman City Code. Chief.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. This is a proposed ordinance that is remarkably fashioned after Modesto's ordinance. And it's called the Social Host and Liability Ordinance. And what it is trying to address is underage drinking by juveniles and minors. Juveniles, of course, being under the age of 18, minors being under the age of 21, who are drinking at parties. And very often we get calls of these types of parties. When we arrive, there is underage drinking going on. Perhaps they don't have the alcoholic beverage in their hands at that point. However, we know that the host is allowing underage drinking to occur. And our enforcement posture is quite limited in that situation, because we actually have to see the person drinking or an adult furnishing the alcohol. This ordinance would allow your police department to go in and make the host responsible through citation and arrest for having a party in which underage drinking is occurring, and also to shut that party down. And we would also have the ability to charge back our costs for having to go out and respond to that situation. This does not alleviate the person from any criminal liabilities or sanctions that would be attached. This is in addition to an administrative remedy. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
This kind of puts more teeth in the existing law, from what I understand.
It sure does.
We actually talked about this at our mayor's meeting this last last Wednesday in Turlock. Turlock hosted it, and Modesto, as you said, was the lead city in passing it, and all the other cities are going to pass it. I'm pretty sure it's going to be unanimous through the whole county, which is great. So
Yes, and it's something we discussed at the chief's level. All the chiefs in the county are behind it and support it, and we thank Modesto for taking the lead role on it.
And I think, Chief, in a lot of cases, just from my years of experience, a lot of parents, they think they're creating a safe drinking haven for kids, and they don't understand the liability that comes with that. And not to mention that it's illegal, but this old adage, what's better than out on the canal bank drinking, and truly it's not necessarily better, because they're still allowing underage kids to drink and come intoxicated, and so I think it's a great order. I think it's been a long time coming, and I wholeheartedly support it.
And if I could dovetail onto your comments, I went on the MAD website, and parents who think that by allowing their kids to drink in their house and so on and so forth in a controlled environment, one of the startling stats that was on the website is if a juvenile starts drinking at age 13, 14 years old, they have a 50% chance of becoming an alcoholic by the time they reach adulthood. And those numbers are staggering. If you wait until age 21, you only have a 10% chance of becoming an alcoholic. So you can see where underage drinking not only has a detrimental effect on the criminal side as far as breaking the law, but also on the long-term quality of life issues that this person's going to be facing.
further questions?
Just real quick, Chief, it's excellent. The only thing I was questioning too, are the fines heavy enough? You think they?
Yes, because
Okay.
it's in addition to the criminal sanctions.
Okay. That's what.
The $500 fine is in addition to any of our hard costs of going out and having to shut this party down.
Was excellent.
So it's almost a three whammy.
Chief, are the courts also supportive? Are they aware and understand that cities are passing these ordinances, and are the courts
Support it?
Yes.
Yes, they are. I talked with Chief Wasden from Modesto Police Department since they've had this law on the books, and he said the courts are very supportive of it, and he's had great results in having this law on the books.
Great.
Yes.
We're passing a lot of good stuff, I think, ordinances, and including this thing. Would it be possible to put, I don't want somebody coming back and saying, well, I didn't know about, ignorance, and there's going to be a lot of that. Would it be possible to put together a night, I'd come out and volunteer, whatever, to help, but where you could stand up there and just explain, we passed this, and this is what's going to happen. We passed this is what's going to happen. You don't park, a car in your lawn, and because that's against ordinance, this is what, but I mean, and anyone in the town that wants to come out and participate, make it an hour, 2 hours, whatever we need, but list the things that really we put some teeth into. And then, I don't want to hear, you didn't know. That's a shame. Why weren't you there that night?
We can do that, and then we can also begin to post them on our website. as
Website.
But
well.
even on the
You know,
website,
just put in a new link on the
Yeah.
front page of our website. And we'll have those on there, so when people go to our website, they can just click what's new in Newman, and they can see, okay, all the new ordinances and the new quality of life issues that we're addressing on there as well. So, but we'll shoot that around on the staff level and come back to you about what we can do in terms of providing more education to the public and getting the word out.
Gee, what did you do in Union City? Was there anything similar to this? I mean, that you guys passed that, wow. You better alert people to this one.
We would have, on occasions, town hall meetings where we would invite the public to perhaps the high school gym.
Yeah.
And talk about new ordinances and legislation in the city, new programs, and so on and so forth, and try to get the word out that way.
Good.
And initially, they're well attended, and after a while,
Yeah.
Drops off.
we're talking to the same crowd.
Yeah, of course. Well.
But your point's well taken about getting the word out. I see Dean's here from the paper. And
That's what he does. That's his
And I'm
job.
hoping he's getting that word out. I know that paper is well-read in this city, so him putting the word out will be greatly helpful.
That's all we need. They read the paper, they know everything that's happening, right?
Yes.
Chief,
That's definitely the truth, I'm sure.
Chief, another
Yes.
area that you could probably get your education done would be at the schools. When you have all the kids there, explain the program to them, and even possibly have them take handouts home so there would be a full disclosure of everybody that has children, that were notified that they do have that in their hand.
That's an excellent idea, and we could do that with the general assemblies. We could do that with the start of school. Because the noise ordinance is going to have some impact on students. This obviously is going to have an impact on some students, not all students, obviously. But yes, and also working with the school district in newsletters and getting the word out also. I can't always depend upon students to take the information home on flyers, but the school district sent out the superintendent's newsletter, so I've had success with attaching an article or two to that publication. Yeah, but it's an excellent idea with the SRO.
Further questions, comments? Not some direction.
I would move to introduce and waive first reading of ordinance number 2007, next in number, adding prohibition against underage drinking and social host liability to Title 9.11 of the Newman City Code.
I second that.
Ted, so nice.
Sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, and I'll remain standing for item 10B.
Item B, adopt resolution number 2007, next to number, declaring certain personal property, surplus property, and authorizing disposal or sale of property.
Yes, Mayor, members of the City Council, it's the police chief's honor to stand before you with a surplus list of equipment from the Recreation Department.
Really?
Well, the police department actually thought we'd have some surplus equipment listed also, but we weren't able to get our act together quick enough. So this is a list of surplus equipment provided by the Recreation Department. All the items have no value to the city. They either have been broken and or replaced. And if it's deemed surplus, then we can get rid of the property accordingly.
Chief, when the police department gets their list together, and I don't know, maybe city manager, I think I mentioned it once before, our old radar trailer that's no longer in use.
Right.
And I guess I could change my hat. Our EVOC instructor at the agency where I'm now employed, I mentioned to him, and they're willing to put whatever it would take to get that thing operable, whether it be replace the batteries, do some work on it. They would use it for actually training purposes at the sheriff's department in our EVOC training, our high-speed
Are they
course.
willing to fix it for us?
I don't think so. I had mentioned it to him. I said,
Okay.
the city may be surplusing it. I said, I didn't know what the plan was. The city of Livingston gave them one last year, and Sergeant Warnke and his crew went out and revamped it and put new batteries in it and fixed it, and so.
Yeah, and I'm not opposed to doing a survey of our radar trailer to see if it is repairable.
I only ask is if it's going to sit and not get used, and the council approves some monies to purchase a new one.
Right.
And we might be better off to see if we can purchase one via grant through OTS, because they're throwing money away.
Right.
Somebody just needs to sit down and write a grant for it. But if that trailer's not going to be used any longer, if it's going to continue to sit and deteriorate, it might be able to become of
We may have a
some
buyer
use.
for it. Okay.
Yeah, so if, maybe we could research that, and, they might give the city $1 for it, I don't know.
I'd hold out for $1.50.
Okay, well, I think I could talk them to $5. Anyway, I thought I'd throw that out.
Thank you.
Okay, is there No further questions or comments? Some direction?
I'll move to adopt resolution number
Make it poor Ed.
2007, next in number,
We like your voice.
declaring certain personal property,
Looking at it.
surplus property, and authorizing disposal or sale of property.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
And thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Item C, adopt resolution number 2007, next to number, authorizing the city manager to apply for a California Infrastructure and Economic Development loan from the I-Bank.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. As you're well aware, we are nearing the period where we will be issuing out bid notices and awarding bids for the construction of a 39-acre storage pond at our wastewater treatment plant. As part of that, as part of the financing plan, we are submitting an application tomorrow to the I-Bank, which is the state infrastructure bank, and requesting a sum of $4 million that may be reduced to $3 million because the cost estimates are a lot lower these days. And so as part of that application, though, we need a resolution from the governing board allowing us to make that application to the I-Bank. The term of the loan would be 30 years, and the interest rate would be 3.04. If we had to go out and have a bond sale outside the cost of issuance of the bond, several $100,000, we're still looking at an interest rate of probably 5% or greater. So this is a great opportunity for the city of Newman to get a very low interest loan and amortize that over 30 years. So in all likelihood, the loan will be for $3 million, not the $4 million that we originally anticipated. So.
Do we have to wait for the approval from the I-Bank before we can go out to bids?
We have, not before we go out, but before we can award.
Before we award it?
Yeah,
Okay.
so the current schedule has us, I believe, September 25th is the date of your second meeting in September. They award on that particular date. So if we keep everything on schedule, we are currently scheduled to be awarded that day at the I-Bank, and we'll know ahead of time. So that way, if they award to us during the afternoon, then we will award the bid amount and get that project moving forward immediately.
So we'll try to coordinate so we go out to bid so it all works out.
Yeah, we already have the schedule. We're going to go
Okay.
out to bid anyways.
Okay.
And it's just a matter of whether or not we can award on the 25th. If we can't award on the 25th, it's going to be very tight. We might. The only reason we wouldn't award on the 25th is something got hung up at the I-Bank staff level, and we didn't get awarded the loan until October, at which time we would probably put the project off until spring or summer of 2008, because we have to cut into the embankment to put in the piping and some pump for the adjacent pond.
Of the existing pond,
Yeah,
yeah.
and our chief plant operator has indicated to us there's a period of time where the threshold will get crossed and the water will be too high to make that cut. He's feeling confident that we have adequate storage over there, but again, if it rains like it did in March of 2006,
We get a wet
when
year,
the rains
yeah.
really came, we'll be up against it. If that didn't occur, he feels pretty safe because of the dry year that we had this year and some of the heat that we had. He's been able to lower the pond significantly.
Okay. Further questions? If not, a motion?
I make a motion that we pass the resolution authorizing the city manager to apply for a California Infrastructure and Economic Development loan from the I-Bank.
Thank you.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Item D, authorize and appropriate funds to pay off balance of sewer revenue bonds of 1978.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Again, these in 1978, the city did issue some sewer revenue bonds to do some improvements out at our wastewater treatment plant. As we proceeded forward and put our application together to go to the I-Bank, we did find that this bond was still outstanding. There's approximately $205,000 left, and it has an interest rate of 5%. At this particular time, we're getting 5% on our investments. Also, by retiring this debt, it makes our application stronger when
Looks better,
it is
yeah.
reviewed by the State Infrastructure Bank. At this nominal cost of $205,000, we're recommending that the council authorize the city manager and make the budget augmentation to pay off this outstanding debt.
And we do have that in our sewer fund anyway, right?
That's correct.
No problem. Questions? Comments? A motion?
I so move that we authorize and appropriate funds to pay off balance of sewer revenue bonds of 1978.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Item E, report on school district funding request.
Over the last couple of months, Dr. Foss, the superintendent of schools, and I have continuing to have conversations. One of the conversations that we did have, and it was subsequently followed up with an email request, is the school district is requesting that the city assist in the refurbishing of the Hunt Elementary gym floors. I guess there's been a buildup of the wax or the polycoat or whatever the material they put on top. And over the years, it's just a significant amount of buildup on there. They would like to strip all of that off, do some repairs to the floor, repaint the floor, and then recover it. That program is, that facility is used by our recreational basketball league, and they probably use it for about 2 to 2.5 months. It's not a significant amount of use. We practice there, and then we have some games on the weekends. So I indicated to the superintendent that I would forward this request to you and get some direction from you. We do have a joint use plan that we use with them. They use a lot of our facilities, including this facility here, by which we didn't charge them for our chairs. No. I'm just teasing with that.
I like that, though, right there.
Yeah, I had to say that for my rec supervisor.
Okay.
She's gonna beat me up tomorrow. So anyway, I wanted to bring this request forward to you. We are trying to build a good rapport with the school district, and trying to make sure that we continually work together to improve our facility. So I'm bringing this before you today. If you so desire to move forward, it would be staff's recommendation that we do no more than 25% of the cost.
Is that what they asked for, or they just opened up the dialogue?
He just opened up the dialogue. That's correct.
I'd like to hear what our rec director has to say, Terry, because I know in the past you've said it's getting harder and harder to get floor time, so to speak, from the district. I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I am, I guess. Sorry.
Yes, you did. As a city manager, and I kind of disagree on this subject a little bit. We use this gym 3 hours a day, 4 days a week for the months of December, January, February, half of March. January through March, we use it for approximately 8 hours on Saturdays. This is also used as a cafeteria floor. We're using it for its supposed use.
Right.
I see the damage the food on the floor does, the dirt, so forth. Also, being a parent of a child that attends that school, I do know the principal's main reason for wanting to refurbish the floor is to take the Yolo logo out of the middle and replace it with the Hunt logo.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate your honesty.
You're welcome.
Members?
I think in the spirit of cooperation, I would like to go ahead and proceed with this project. I think we use it enough to do that, and we're trying to build our relationship back with the school. And so this might be the first olive branch to be held out.
Don't we need our carpets cleaned in here where we can charge them like 25% of?
We just had them cleaned in.
Oh, okay. Okay. Just a thought.
No, I would concur with Mike.
Yeah, I'll agree also. In the spirit of cooperation for the new regime, so to speak, with our school district, I would do it this one time.
That floor probably hasn't been touched in 20 years or better, and it is. I mean, it's bad, And I was actually kind of surprised at the $9,000 quote. That's actually not bad.
Seems
I know
cheap.
at one time seems to me that the quote was closer to $15,000, if I remember way back when. I know completely to refurbish the floor, the last time they did the high school floor down to the wood was well over $25,000. So I'm sure that's probably what their plan is. They would almost have to take it down to the bare wood to repaint it and all that kind of stuff. But so I think, the $2,400 that we're going to kick into them is a nominal fee, and I would agree that it's something that we probably could do. Even though they're going to change the logo to the
Right.
Hunt Tiger, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
We
The
don't necessarily
despicable
need
red
a
and white
resolution, but
colors.
if we could at least take a formal vote, then we have a minute order
Okay.
to go forward with it.
Do we have a
Roll call or just,
It doesn't
Ma-
necessarily-
motion?
Just a motion and a
Motion,
second and a vote.
a motion to,
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that motion.
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Just remind them of the other city facilities that they use without any charge of cleaning, refurbishing.
John, that's not true spirit of cooperation, John.
Yeah.
I know, but
Cooperation with strangers.
that's right. Even though we, exactly.
Moving along.
Ooh. Hey, who's running this meeting, Miriam? But I get your point. Item F, report on police officer home loan program.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Again, we provided you a copy here of Police Officer Home Loan Program, and we're at this particular meeting, we're looking for some guidance and some feedback from you. A little background on this: it was in 2003 that the City Council approved the concept of a home loan program to be used by police officers as a tool to get officers to move into town. The ultimate purpose of the program and the belief was by getting officers to buy into the community, by purchasing a home in the community, it would assist with the retention program and also get them to be more active in the community itself and with the youth and the persons within the community. The problem was that at that particular time, none of the details of the program were ever presented to the council. It was just a concept plan. This concept plan that I found as I went through the files was a lot of it was based off a Ripon program. The city of Ripon has a home loan program. Ripon's home loan program is not necessarily a police officer's home loan program. It's an all city employee home loan program, so it's not specifically identified for police officers. However, at the request or at the following the guidelines in 2003, we did tailor this more towards police officers in this particular one. So I provided you an objective for the program, eligibility criteria. We talked about the loan terms, funding source, assistance priority, some of the agreements and the other terms on there. So one of the things, one of the items for discussion that I would like the council to consider is at this particular time is possibly if you proceed to go forward or give staff some direction on, are we going to encumber some money? That's one of the things that you're going to find in the new GASB or Governmental Accounting Standards and Board, and they make you take this into account. So if you're going to pledge a certain amount of money, you're going to have to set it aside because it can only be used for that. So if you, for instance, fund 5 up to the maximum or the loan terms are up to $50,000. If you provided 5 of them, that's $250,000. That's 10% of your general fund reserve. So that's a significant amount of money that is then taken off the table and not eligible to be used by the council because it then becomes encumbered. So the other issue, and you'll find a letter from one of our employees, and it's not just one employee, and there is talk amongst the other employees that they also would like to take part in this particular program too, and not just be used for a police officer's home loan program. A lot of I think the city of Morgan Hills is specifically, I believe, targets police officers, but the majority of the ones that are adopted for home loan programs generally are citywide employees, not necessarily just police officers. But there are instances where it is police officers, such as Morgan Hill. So with that, I have that program. I kind of laid that out to you. I'd like to have some discussion with the council on what I've drafted, what your general thoughts are, and how you would like staff to proceed forward at this time. Also, there may be members of within this arena right now that may want to speak.
I guess one thing that you brought up that's interesting is the laws, and do you have to set aside that whole amount? How do we have to agree, like right now, the amount we're gonna?
We don't. We
No,
don't.
not tonight.
Not tonight. I'm just looking for guidance, but that's something that ultimately there needs to be a decision by the council on how that's going to proceed. But I was bringing it up for discussion purposes tonight.
Okay.
You're not required to make that determination tonight,
So,
or not requested.
in other words, before we initiate it, we would have to decide what's the max that we would put aside, like each year, to loan out.
That's correct.
By law.
Or you can even make the term. It's one of those things too. If you adopt the program, I would it's wise that then you set aside money every year. Or what you could do is set aside, let's say, $200,000, put it into a separate account that grows with interest, and so when the money's expended, then it's no longer available. But it starts getting paid back, and as monies become available, then funds become available to potential applicants on it. And
Sure.
no one has to take the maximum amount. Some people may only need 20 or 30,000.
Down payment, or they might.
Yeah, buy down on your. If you really think about it, and this program could be very, very useful to someone who's having problems. Let's say you take 30,000 out, you use 15 or 20,000 for closing costs and some down payment, and then you use the rest for a buy down on your rate. When you buy down on your rate, then you substantially lower your payments.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're able to afford that payback, and that payback's only over a 10-year period. And then you got 20 years of cost savings to you because your payment is lower. So in essence, that does lower the total cost of your house over the 30-year amortized less interest payments. So, but any of that, I wasn't planning on going through the whole program, but we do. Part of it is, you have to be a permanent full-time city employee with a successful completion of a probationary period. That's just one of the things that we do to protect the city. You don't extend it to probationary people, because probationary people are not can be terminated at any particular point in time. And so it's one of those ones that you would extend as a benefit to reaching permanent status on there. We have some repayment programs. We did tie, Ripon had a pretty elaborate way of calculating what the interest rate was, and you had to go to Wall Street Journal, and you had to do a bunch of other things. We kind of kept ours simple. What we are proposing is the city uses LAIF, which is Local Agency Investment Fund, and that's our secure, I guess it's called secure, but that's our investment vehicle where we place our money. And the interest rate varies. Generally, probably on the low side, you're looking, it's probably gone as low as 2.5% to 3%. On the high side, it's gone up to about 5.5% return on our money that we're keeping in there. So what we would do is then average out the previous 12 months return on an investment, and that would be your interest rate. So in essence, you can make a finding that the city, in essence, probably wouldn't be losing any particular money on the investment, because they would be paying us back late for what we would be getting in our investment vehicle anyways. So the only thing that you would lose, and that's part of the program, is there's no interest for the first year. No payment, no interest for the first year. Yeah. But the whole amount, unlike Ripon forgives $1,000 a year for the first 10 years, no payments, no interest. We're not proposing any of that at this particular time. While we're indicating is no payments, no interest for the first year. And what that does is it gives the employee up to step C within their pay range. So now they're at a higher pay range, there's 5% more salary for them to use to start paying that back, but they pay back the full amount.
Well, when this was first drafted, I'm the one who brought it and wrote it and put it all together. Obviously, my thoughts were police officers. That was my only concern, that we get officers live in the community, be part of the community, and they're going to stay, et cetera, et cetera. But now that I sit in this chair in a different capacity, I would agree that, and I certainly would not be opposed that we extend it to our other employees. And I think the letter that has been provided to us is well states the reasons behind it. And I would agree, because all those things that she says here are all the things that I tried to list when I first proposed this back in 2003. And I still believe that we need to do more, but I think it's a good first step in what I consider is retention and the recruitment of good personnel, and that extends beyond just police officers for me now in the chair I currently hold. Before, I didn't think about it in terms of it should include all other employees, because my concern was the police department. My concern is still the police department, but I now agree that we should extend it. So I would not be opposed to that.
Mike,
Other comments?
Another thought here. Mike, if we reduce that grace period to 6 months, would that mess up anything?
No, it doesn't mess up anything. Again, the only reason we put the 1 year was because that generally gives a person to get up to the next step level, which means more salary for them to repay that. That was the method behind why we indicated 1 year, but it could be 6 months if you so desire.
I would also like to see a commitment for 3 years, at least 3 years. If they get the loan, a commitment to stay. I mean,
Ted, I disagree. I think we got to look beyond 3. The whole intent was is for people to become permanent residents of this community.
I agree. We'll make it 10 years.
Okay. Because the mentality has been in the past, well, geez, we can get them stay for 2 years, we're happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we need to get away from that mentality. We want our employees to be long-term employees. We want them to make a career of being here in the city of Newman, not 2 years, 3 years. So, if we, I'm okay with the 10 years, but I would hope that in that 10 years' time, people tend to grow roots. Maybe they start their families, and they're going to say, and that's the whole idea of getting our employees to be a part of this community. Once you're here, you don't just work for the city. You live and you participate in the city. And that's the critical point that I've tried to make all these years.
The one thing I would say, Councilman Kelly, is I don't know that we can legally commit anyone to working here for 3 years. That wouldn't be a legal binding document as part of that. So
You
yeah,
go.
so
We could put-
But I still
yeah, so
thought
if they had to go,
maybe
but we
a
do
little
have
more
some. There is wording within this program that once you leave,
you have to pay.
there's a certain period.
Yeah.
You get a certain grace period. I don't remember if it was 45 or 60 days, but you have to repay the outstanding balance.
Right.
So you don't get the 10 years to pay it all back.
That's
You
right.
decide that you want to terminate your employment with the city of Newman, that notice payable will due.
My evil mind was that you have that grace period, and so you borrow the money and you put it down on a house, and of course at this time now the housing market's terrible, but last year or year and a half ago, you take that and buy a house, and then it's going to appreciate within 6 months, and you do that. So basically be here for a year, 2 years, and walk away with some good money. I'm just trying to, the evil things.
Right. Well, and
We
you're not,
want what Ed said. I agree.
and you're not going to be able. And there are going to be people who try to beat
To beat the system. Yeah.
system, and that's always going to take place. But I think, in my knowledge of our employees, there's a lot of good employees out
I
there
agree.
right now that would love to take advantage of this particular program. In fact, we got, and I think they would stay a long time.
And I think that's what we need to promote and encourage.
Yep.
Tom, I have a question for you. It says on repayment, upon termination of employment in the city, agree to pay within 90 days of date of termination. Legally, can we enforce that? And what would we do if we had to proceed with foreclosure?
Well, that is the one little, we're obviously subject to the first, so
That's right.
it's a little problematic. Practically we would foreclose and then
Might be other people in line
Yeah,
before
just
us.
get-
we'd be subject to what we're subject to, but that's the best we could do.
So this really doesn't have a lot of teeth in it per se, it's just a legal proceedings type of language.
Right.
But we do have, Mike, we do have the power to look at what they're buying. I mean, don't we have the say, the way I'd read it? Don't we have, to really review what they're actually going to buy?
Well, it has to be,
So if it didn't look like a good deal to us at that point,
well,
I don't think it really says.
I would caution us from getting into people's personal decisions on whether it's a good deal or not. What we're just trying to do is make sure that we are in a very strong legal position under a default scenario. Obviously, we're not going to be able to take a first position on this one,
No.
so a second position is probably the best we're going to get. And Tom, you jump in where you think I'm wrong, but a second position is probably about the best we're going to get for this particular instance, and those are some of the risks that we would run, council member, with this particular program. That if somebody did jump off and and the house got foreclosed, and whoever knows, there may be some default amounts on there.
Michael, question, the encumbrance would be a maximum of 200,000. Is that what you're suggesting?
That's what I'm suggesting at this particular time. That's 200,000. The council can always go back and alter that. If it's highly successful and it runs out, and you look at your general fund reserves, the council can always go back and re-establish and refund that account. At this particular time, I thought, if we looked at 200,000, and talking with some of the employees, they didn't indicate that they needed the necessarily full 50,000 to make their bids successful for getting the program.
And I think we can take a look at it after, a couple of years, and let's see how it measures up, and let's see how important it is to our employees. And I think that's been part of my proposal all along is we'll never know until we do it. We'll never know what the interest is until we actually do it. And let's see. It's almost like let's put our money where our mouth is, and let's see if there is an interest. And I think we can revisit if it's a successful program. If we think we need to encumber more money, then we can. Or we say, well, this is all we can do, and we can only fund 2 or 3 loans a year, or we can structure it any way we want to do it. But let's see what kind of interest there is out there.
Yeah, and you don't have to encumber 200. You could encumber 100 the first year, and look at it the second year. And if that full 100 doesn't get used, you just add what it needs to get it back up to 100. Or you can parlay that any way you want in terms of amount of money that you want to put into it. So,
Michael, did Ripon indicate how many employees have taken advantage of this in their city and how things are going? Or?
There's approximately 30 employees.
30?
That are
Wow.
participating in their program.
I know that almost 100% of their police department lives in their community. And I don't know that they've all taken advantage of their home loan program. I know that the seed money was there for that. And the last time I talked to Chief Bull, and it's been probably over a year ago, at that time he only had 2 of his officers who did not live in town, and those 2 were currently in the process.
Do you think we should have a real estate attorney give us some further advice on drawing up make sure everything is done right, and maybe I'd like to see a copy of what Ripon has done. How their wording is and everything is done.
A copy of their documents as well, that the loan apps and stuff like that.
Maybe that would be helpful too. Yeah.
And their city attorney is a real
estate attorney.
Well, yeah, that's his one
convenient.
city client. I've talked to him about this in the past. I think one of the other practical things, that you'll see is there's going to be a lot of legislation on these subprime loans and some of the things about people getting into houses
Right,
they
which the
shouldn't
way
have been.
things
So
have
I
been
think we're
going
going to
in.
have some protection with that as well.
Yeah, I'd sure like to get, I mean, I think it's a great idea, and that was brought up. You know, I think it should be available to every city employee, but I think we should decide how we're gonna do that. I mean, are we gonna have a lottery? I mean, if we have every city employee wanna do it, that doesn't own a house, how are we gonna do that? We have to get some criteria.
There is some priority in here. Under section 5, page 2, if the number of applicants received exceeds the amount of funding available, priority will be given as follows. First, employees who are renting within the city, not current homeowners. Second, employees living outside the city limits. And third would be employees, current homeowners living within the city.
Sure, but what happens if, the first criteria, we have 10 people that fit that first criteria, how do we pick and choose? That's what I'm saying. How do we, I think we should have something in place before we.
We could
Yeah.
probably
It'd be
even if we
more than first
wanted
come,
to,
first
we
served
could you could do first come, first serve, or you could even, if push come to shove, you could go by a seniority list as well. I mean, if you've been here for 10 years and you're interested and you have employees been here for 1 year, I would certainly think, I don't know, that might be
That's what.
a tool. I don't know.
All good points.
A note that I jotted down here, it says the minimum load is 10,000, the maximum is 50,000. If we're looking at using 200,000 as a starting number, then if everybody was to participate at the 50,000 level, there would only be 4 people. If you use a figure of $350,000 for the average price of a home, 10% down is 35,000. Limiting the top level at 35,000, then 6 people get to participate at a level of 210,000. So it's just another avenue of getting more people involved, if there is people involved, by setting the upper limit at a little lower number.
Yeah, and 50,000 is a pretty arbitrary number. It's a little bit lower. I think Ripon goes up to 60, but if we wanted to look at 40 or 30, that does provide a little bit more of what's out there. So.
Well, I think we should, at least wait one more meeting, get a little bit more information, if we could, from Ripon, and.
Sure.
Does everybody agree with that, or?
Yep.
I mean, I think it's a great idea. I just want to make sure we have everything lined up before we proceed.
Yeah, it's nice to look at Ripon, but you also have to remember they're in a little different financial strategy.
Absolutely, yes.
So at the next meeting, what I will do is I will put together a package that Ripon has, not only detailing their program. They actually have 2 programs. One's run by the redevelopment agency and the other's by the general fund. But we'll also look at some of their documents, legal documents and applications that need to come in. And then this council, over the next couple of weeks, you'll have to start mulling over, okay, what kind of limits do we want to set, and those types of things. We can probably get you some average sale cost of houses right now, what a typical closing cost would be, and those types of things for you as well. And that could assist you in making your determination as to, how much money to encumber off the get-go, and how much to set as the maximum loan amount.
When you mentioned redevelopment agency, that curiosity about how they're doing that, I mean, are they an older part of town, are they refabbing older houses, or, but find out what you can on that too.
On that particular program, a lot of it is all income qualified, and they have very few people that are using that program. This is the one that we modeled it off after is the more successful because of the income requirements that are very low for meeting those.
But the redevelopment thing kind of perks my interest because, we have a lot of nice houses in the older part of town that could, an older, maybe one that needs to be remodeled a little bit, and something like that might work also.
Ed, a question for you. Your original concept and idea on this was, I'm assuming, for officer retention as well as attract new officers. Would this program work if it was specified that X amount would be for existing people within the city and X amount to attract new officers? If you're going to use it as the carrot and the carrot gets eaten before it ever gets hung out in front of the horse, then the horse isn't going to walk as fast and come to town. It was quite a story, huh?
Yeah, I like that analogy too.
Just thinking that right now? Or?
Actually, I'm not so sure that I thought of it in terms of, my whole concept was, what I think primarily was really to try to get our current staff, our current officers, because we have at the time, as well as we do now, we had a good core of people. And my interest was, because I had talked to them, I said, what if this was available? Would you be interested? And I laid out my whole analogy to them, and the interest was there. I think in terms of new recruiting, I think that's just an additional incentive that we list on our brochures when we're recruiting, that the city has this type of funding available, and we encourage our employees, we encourage our police officers and now the rest of our city employees to be part of our community. And so in order to help facilitate this, we're dangling, some funding for them to help them purchase a home. So to answer your question, one, it was initially to try to get what we had, because I didn't want to lose what we had. I wanted to keep them here, because at that particular moment, we had a really good core of officers, a great group of officers. We still do. It has changed a little bit since when I first proposed this, but I think keeping that same thought process, we have good people here now, and we're still trying to hire some good people. So I think we can use that as a tool, as recruitment. The other side of that is you use it as a retention tool as well. I'm a firm believer, and I guess maybe I'm a perfect example of it. I came to the city over 28 years ago, and the first thing I did is move my family here. My daughter was 2 days old when I moved. I had other opportunities to leave, to go other places, but it meant picking up my family and moving. And I could have went and made a lot more money, but you just kind of fall in love with Newman, and I didn't want to. So I had established roots here, and so that was, my whole brain thrust of sharing that with the officers who work for me, is trying to get them to move to the community, because it's a great place to be. And once you're here, it makes it a little bit tougher, and you don't think so much about leaving and go to work somewhere else. So that's kind of the method of my madness.
One further question. Chief, I'd like to hear your comments on this, if you have any. I don't mean to put you on the spot. That's what you get the big bucks for.
Well, after watching Jerry be placed on the spot, I guess it's my turn now. I wholeheartedly support any type of a program that's going to encourage police officers to move into the community and be part of the community. I listened intently to the conversation about the unintended consequences of our good actions, and that is the divisiveness between police officers and non-police officers, not only between city departments, but also within my own department, because I have police officers and I have non-sworn professional support staff that would also be negatively impacted by this. And I would be reticent about encouraging anything that's going to be divisive to my department or to the city. And I think the discussions that I've heard tonight is putting us on a good path to address both the retention issues of the police department, the recruitment issues of the police department, but yet not being divisive to the rest of the city. And I don't think that's what was intended when Lieutenant Caton at the time made this proposal. So anyway, those are my thoughts on that. I think it's an excellent recruiting tool. It's an excellent retention tool. And I don't know about the existing officers, but I know I have the officer we just hired, who of course is on probation. He has to wait till he's off probation, but he's very interested in this program and moving his family to Newman. And again, he'd be part of the community other than just when he's on duty. Mm-hmm. Yes. And I'd be happy to answer any other questions.
And
Chief,
Chief,
since you're-
Chief, with your, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
And you mentioned your current staff, and some of those are still there when I was there, and some of those that are still there, I talked to when I first proposed this. And some of those were interested, but since that time, some of those have purchased homes. At the time, they were renting, but now they have purchased their homes, so probably gonna be a little bit more difficult to get them, and that's why, in my other madness, I had the other dangling Chad that I wanted to throw out, and that's still something that I want to pursue, that later on, with support of the city manager, and that's why I threw out the idea of, when I first proposed this to the city council way back when, they bought on the home loan part of it, but they couldn't see past what it was going to take to get the officers here. Mm-hmm. And to get those officers here was an additional incentive, a monetary incentive.
Right.
That was the critical component of this whole plan. And the council members who were sitting at that time couldn't see beyond that.
Okay.
And so they supported the plan of the home loan plan. At the time, it was $60,000. And part of their argument later was, well, geez, nobody else taking us up on it. Well, because they missed the whole picture.
A couple comments, if I may. As I see Newman continuing to grow, and it is going to grow in the next 5, 10, 15 years, our recruitment will encompass not only the sworn officers, but also the non-sworn professional support that we're going to need to help support those officers. And again, a home loan program that helps us bring in highly qualified, non-sworn professional support is beneficial to the city. I was told years ago as a young sergeant, when I was frustrated, when I would bring ideas up to my captain, and they'd never see the light of day. And he said, "Sergeant, your ideas aren't bad, the timing's wrong." And sometimes ideas have to ferment before they're good wine, if you will. And I think this is one of those situations where it just had to ferment, and people now see the value of your idea that was proposed, several years ago.
Well, and I think because we have a different council sitting now, and this council is more willing to reach out and expand beyond the horizon, not sit back here with blinders on. So,
yeah, progressive councils helps.
Chief, since you're there, any further staff reports this evening?
No other staff reports, but when it's my turn to come back up, I'll talk about.
It's your turn right now.
It's my turn.
Yes, I'm not going to make you come back up again.
Just a couple of items. First of all, I want to update the council that last Wednesday I held my second department meeting, all hands meeting. My first one was when I first introduced myself a little over 8 weeks ago. And this was a follow-up meeting, and it was more of a dialogue than a monologue with my first meeting. And it gives me great pleasure to convey to you the excitement and exuberance that the officers had with ideas on new programs, training ideas, equipment, and so on and so forth. Fully engaged. And as a police chief, I felt like I'm being challenged now to meet their expectations and to really set the stage for the next chief to come in and continue to meet their expectations. So it was a great experience. I don't want to talk about the programs yet. I mentioned some of them to the city manager. I'm not ready to go public with them. But a couple of them are very doable. You just have to do some research. Always funding comes up and becomes an issue in some fashion. But it's ideas that have been floated, not, again, ideas that were not before their time, and now they're getting some reaction. And it was a great meeting. But to a person, they were very excited about the master training plan we're developing and the new equipment that we're purchasing. And again, I want to thank the council for the help in the budget to purchase the equipment that we need to provide good service to the city of Newman. Also, I'd like to pass out, and it's an expanded format. This is one of the things we talked about, and it's a public perception. And I've talked to our reporter, Dean Harris, about this, in that the newspaper only reports out on a couple of arrests that we make. They don't report out on everything that we do. And what's happening is the officers, when they respond to calls, if we're busy and their response is delayed, half hour, 45 minutes, what they hear over and over again is, what took you so long? You guys only make 2 arrests a week, and how come it took you half hour, 45 minutes to get to my call? So the format that I'm looking at is taking a look on a weekly basis. And this is basically a Wednesday through Tuesday format. So it's prepared for our Wednesday morning meeting with the city manager on our weekly calls for service. This is dispatch calls that the officers respond to. And for this week, for the previous 7 days, we responded as a police department to 105 calls for service. Far more than the 2 or 3 arrests that you might see in the newspaper. Also during this time period, the officers self-initiated 43 separate activities. This would be car stops, suspicious people, suspicious vehicles, whatever it might be. During the week, we made 2 felony arrests, 12 misdemeanor arrests, and the officers wrote a total of 52 reports during this 1 week period. And also, I've attached an expanded report on the types of arrests that we made during this 1 week period. Previously, again, you'd only get 2 or 3 of the highlighted ones, but not a full flavor of the types of calls and activities that your police department is involved in on a weekly basis. So I think in fairness to the officers for the hard work that they're doing, in fairness to the city council, that you have a better idea of the work your officers are doing, and also to the community so they have a better appreciation for the amount of work that these officers perform on a weekly basis. We'll go to this new format, and Dean has made not a commitment, but he's indicated that he'd like to, in some way or another, get this information out. Obviously, he has to tie in Gustine so that all his children are treated the same. But I think it's healthy to have more information out there as to the types of calls that we're handling and the number of calls that we're handling. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have on this.
Chief, I don't have any questions, but I just have a comment, and because some of those officers periodically still come by the house, talk to me, and I'll see them on the street. And I can just tell you, it's been refreshing because it's been a long time coming. I can see the excitement in some of these guys' eyes, and they're excited with the changes you brought forth, some of the programs, and it's been a long time since they've had that, and and as part of, I think this whole thing is going to start coming together because they're not in this dry rut that they've been in for a long time, and so they are excited, and so it kind of gives me that warm fuzzy feeling, like it used to have a long time ago. So thank you so much. I think you've done a great job.
I appreciate that. And again, all I want to do is make Newman Police Department the best police department there is, and make the city of Newman a safe place to live, work, and raise a family. So that's my commitment to the elected officials and to the city manager and the community. And I'll just dovetail, if I can, on that last comment. Right now, Officer Astorga, Rosa Astorga, on her own initiative, on her own volition, came to me and said, Chief, I'd like to start a neighborhood watch program, starting with the businesses along Main Street. And tonight, at 8 o'clock, she's hosting the initial kickoff meeting at the Buena Vista restaurant. And she's invited the business owner and local residents in the area to come and talk about issues that are going on in their neighborhood on Main Street. And Not only did she do this on her own initiative, but she's also dipped into her own pocket to pay for the food that's being prepared and served tonight. So it's things like this that just, it warms the heart of a hardened police chief to see an officer take that initiative and want to have that kind of relationship with the community and the business community. So it is exciting time for me, believe me.
Great.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Chief, how's things going with our code enforcement officer?
Things are going along swimmingly. As a matter of fact, I had a gentleman in my office today who was upset with the fact that he had to abate several of his abandoned vehicles and boats and trailers parked in his front yard and so on and so forth. And
Wonder who that could be. Oh.
Yes. And that just is exactly what we want. Is he's very not aggressive, assertive is the word. And he goes out and he looks for it. But as you saw the other night when he was here, he's a fine gentleman. He talks with the vehicle owners or property owners, tries to get compliance and cooperation. He's the right temperament for this type of a job. We're hoping to have his vehicle refurbished within the next couple of weeks, and as soon as his vehicle is refurbished, we're going to kick him out of the nest, and he's going to fly in with his own wings. So, yes, he'll fly. But yes, the program is coming along well. He's doing vehicle abatements, both public property, private property, not the weed abatements. That's still going to stay with the Public Works Department, but graffiti abatement. He's been attacking the graffiti abatements also. Once we establish this baseline, then we'll move on into his ability to take some cold police reports, no suspects, and so on and so forth. But right now, I want to stay focused on the code enforcement.
Well, you answered that exactly the way I hoped you would, that he is talking to people and trying to first communicate with them and bring them into compliance. That's, I think, what we all really wanted. So,
Yes.
fabulous. Thank you very much.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
City Manager report, Michael?
Yeah, and I would just kind of add to that, this council chamber, Edgar's been on since May. This council chamber hasn't been filled with people who are irate because they got tickets and the code enforcement officer. So I think that's a true testament to the tact that he is using and the method he is using to gain compliance and how successful that is. So the one thing that we will be doing also is we'll start an educational process. We've got these bright pink notices that are going to go on people's trash cans when they leave them out too long, just kind of letting them know that, hey, you got to take them in at a certain time and you can't leave them out and they got to be behind a wall. So those will start showing up as if you see a bright pink notice on your trash can, that's what it is. Just a little educational tool. So one of the things I was going to report back was...
Mike, can I just ask a quick question? Just because in terms of the garbage truck, is there a time set that they can start?
I think it's in their contract. I can look at it. Mike seems to think it's around 5 a.m.
I know it's closer to 3.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. It just reminded me 3 o'clock yesterday morning.
There were two different times. There was one in our ordinance at a time, and I think one was 4, and then our contract said, I believe, 5. I can't recall it. I think it's set forth in the ordinance and in our contract.
Well, normally they hit my neighborhood about 3. So
We'll check in on that. We'll check the contract. We'll make sure that they're in full compliance with that.
Well, he didn't show up at my place at about 11 o'clock, 11 or 11:30.
So with that, the one thing I did report already that I'll just follow up with, I will be meeting with the Little League board president Monday morning at 9 a.m. 2 board members and myself will initiate the conversations and start going through some of the issues. They're not without knowing that there are issues that need to be addressed, and so we're going to work together to find out the resolution. So at your next meeting, then in my weekly reports to you, I'll keep you updated on how those go and how we're going to proceed forward. Again, we had 2 items tonight talking about the iBank, the infrastructure loan bank, and that application. We're trying to get that off tomorrow, no later than Thursday, to the iBank, and we are anticipating that on September 25th, they will award us our requested amount, and we still have to work out the final details of whether that's $3 million or $4 million. Originally, we said 4 because that's what Eagle Logic was telling us, but now as we finish up construction documents and get the bid packages ready, that's come down to about $3 million. So that's good news for the ratepayers that there's $1 million off the top that we won't have to pay on that. So.
How close are we getting that report back from Ecologic on
I think
all of our master plans, the water, sewer?
Master plans are due in 30 to 45 days, and then I believe a rate study is around the same time. But they're really focusing on the sewer part of it, and they haven't done too much on the water rate study yet. So when Ernie's here, maybe he can give that elaborate. But 30 to 45 days is about where we're at in terms of getting the administrative draft of the master plans. We turn it around in about 2 weeks, and then public draft. So public draft, you're probably looking about 45 days, and public draft will be ready. So, I'm pleased to announce last night we had Mike Souza from the Alliance come in, and he gave a workshop in the council chambers here for any persons who are desiring to open up small businesses, or looking for financing of small businesses, or we're looking to expand their small businesses. This is an effort that the city is working with the Alliance on to, again, keep our economy going. If we can start 4 or 5 or 10 small businesses a year, and hope that they grow, and then, some of those small businesses grow into medium-sized businesses, that's a lot of job generation. So we are bringing these people out from the Alliance, Mike Souza out from the Alliance, to meet with locals here in Newman, so they don't have to go to Merced or Modesto to get the information. We have people out here, and he comes out on a monthly basis, and he'll meet with people one-on-one. Last night he gave a PowerPoint presentation. I think Mike initiated. There's probably about 6 people that were out there that attended that. So, those are little things that we are trying to do as a community to keep our economy growing, to help people start new businesses and get that entrepreneur spirit going, and hopefully continue to grow our downtown and our economic base. We have sent out a letter to our POA, which is our Police Officers Association. Their contract expires on June 30th of 2008. That's the end of this fiscal year. So we did send a letter to the union rep and asking them to start talks on a multi-year extension on that. So hopefully I can continue to just provide you updates on that. But those talks will move forward probably in August, or be initiated in August. And that's all that I had. Mayor's got my last one.
Ma'am, I know you came in late. Did you have a comment on something the city manager just brought up? If you did, please come up and...
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, I apologize for not being here on item 7, but I have a concern that would eventually affect...
Could you come up to the...
Yeah, ma'am, please come up, and that way everyone can hear.
Just give us your name.
Elizabeth Foster. I live at 2112 Hidden Canyon Way. And right at the corner of Sandy Creek and Hidden Canyon Way, there's a stagnant water that stays there all the time. It gets green, and I reported it to the City Hall already twice. And once they came and sweep it down somehow. But the water, when the lawn is watered, water drains down and it sits there, and then it stays there and it gets green, and I'm afraid of mosquitoes to get into those waters. Mm-hmm. What it needs is to get an inclination that goes down to where the drainage is. It sits up here, but the drainage is down there, and that's my concern. I'm sorry. I apologize for not being here on time to get it on item 7.
No, thank you for bringing that to us, our attention. And by chance, our Public Works Director just came out of the darkness in the back, so
Yes.
maybe
Yes.
we will take his comments right now. Thank you very much, ma'am, and
Thank
see
you.
if he was aware of that, or maybe he could take a look at that for us. And you were hiding back there, huh, Ernie?
Yes, I didn't catch the location.
Didn't mean to put you on the spot, Ernie.
Yes.
Yeah, much.
What was that location?
Drive and Hidden Canyon Way, right at the corner.
Yes, that is a a problem where water does stand. What happens is with time, you get some settling in the curb and gutter. We do have issues where we do have a lot of standing water throughout the city. One of the worst ones that comes to mind is T Street. If you'll go down T Street, you'll see that curb and gutter is like a roller coaster all the way down the street. I've had numerous requests from people saying, I have this water in front of my house. That's the problem right there. If you fix that broken curb and gutter, then the water will flow. But what you end up doing is just moving it over and causing the next neighbor the problem. So what we need to do is just have enough money to redo the entire block in order to alleviate these problems. I haven't, I can take a closer look at that area where she lives and see if perhaps maybe some grinding or will help alleviate, move some of the water along from there. But yeah, we do have those problems. Where we have most of the water standing, the Mosquito Abatement comes along and they do spray, especially all those catch basins, the siphons throughout the city that hold the water, because they are aware that they could produce mosquitoes, and so it is a concern. But
you could take a look at that one. I know that's a fairly newer area.
It
there,
isn't-
so I can understand the older parts. I've got some in my area that.
Yes, this area was from 1990, so it's already 17 years later. This soil, be it being clay soil, it shifts a lot, it moves a lot. So
Yeah, I think we need to take. It's not only just the idea of mosquitoes, but now there's the West Nile scare, and that even makes it more of an issue. So I think we got to get out and take a look at it.
Sure, let me take a look at it and see if what we can do for it.
Ernie, are these problems primarily from the sprinkler systems in the area? I can't imagine, it hasn't rained for quite a while, so what's the source of the problem?
That's the other problem. A lot of people, what they do is they program their sprinklers to run, and they program to run several times a day. And so the lawns get saturated and the water just runs off and gets into the gutter and runs down the street and causes these problems. Some people run their water so much that some of the older trees, they have saturated to the point that they've rotted the tree root, the tap root, and when the high winds come, those trees just go right on over. But I do have 2 people in the water department that try to keep tabs on people who do gutter flooding as such, and who also use water during our conservation period, which is from 1 to 6. But being so busy with all their other duties, I mean, it's tough to just stay on top of it and keep that under control. I know that my next door neighbor, every morning, those sprinklers run every morning, and right away the water starts running. Luckily, there's a catch basin right close by, and it drops in there right away. But it is a problem.
Doesn't he know who he's living next to, or?
I talked to him,
Oh, okay.
but he says, yes, we'll fix the sprinklers, but it continues to happen.
Sorry to put you on the spot there, Ernie.
No,
Get to your regular report now, sorry.
That's quite all right. That's my job. I will look into it and see if anything can be done right away.
Thank you, Ernie.
And I guess while I'm up here,
It's your turn.
I'll continue with my show and tell from the last council meeting. As you can see, last time we had just a dirt area where they had removed that grass, that the no-mow that didn't look too good, and so they've replaced it with another species of mowless turf. So there's other pictures. You have looking east along Hills Ferry, And then you have the next picture that shows it around the sign, so it looks much, much better along through there.
Ernie, that turf is not cut, is it?
No, it's going to start to grow. It's just been recently
Do you
planted.
have to cut it?
No, it'll be moleless, but it won't grow as tall as the other one.
Okay.
Okay?
If that makes any sense, yeah. Sorry.
Say that again?
It won't grow as tall as
Oh,
the
no, I
other
take notes
moleless
on
that was almost fence high. It was a different species, okay? Oh, and going over to Yolo Street, as you can tell here, some of the curb returns that have been poured. We have quite a few different pictures. Handicap ramp over on, I can't.
Yolo
on
and
Main
Main.
Street, Yolo. And you see them fixing most of the areas have been excavated, and they did have some issues with compaction. They failed some compaction testing because they got to get the moisture just right, so they had to go back and rework that. So that set them back a while. But if you'll continue, there you can see in the other gutter flooders, as you notice, they came and ruined their problem there, their work, because now they got to dig out that mud where that water is sitting, and they got to replace it and compact it.
Ernie, are these corners the new work that's being done? Is that going to help with the flooding on that particular street? Yolo Street was particularly bad during heavy rains. Is there also?
It won't because the pipeline is right underneath there, and if we get heavy rains, it gets surcharged, and so the water just sits there until there's room for it. But mostly what it is it's a continuation of the sidewalk all the way from Highway 33 all the way to the high school now, so that this way the kids will have sidewalks to walk home on.
Nothing planned for the north side of the street?
Not at this time. We don't have the funds to do the north side, and I believe also that there had been some plan about widening that street at a later date. So the south side is just being done at this time. Here's a driveway into the alley. We didn't have any concrete there, so they're going to be pouring driveways there. Again, here's over to the west of our street, and is showing how they cut into the bank so that they can place the sidewalk along through there. And there's from our to the alley approach. And that's all I have for you. Any questions?
On the areas where they're doing that, there's now a small mow strip area there. What are we going to do in those mow strip areas? Put no mow grass? What's the plans?
Where's this, Councilman?
Let's go from Highway 33 back to the west.
The very first picture might have showed it.
First picture.
Yeah.
Oh, from...
I don't think you show it in any of those, but
It's a little bit further.
There's an area that would be directly north of where that sidewalk is. That's dirt in between there and the curb and the gutter.
Mostly all along through there, you have a separated curb and gutter and sidewalk, and most of that is taken care of by the residents are the ones who choose to see what they're going to, whether they're going to leave it a dirt area, whether they're going to plant grass, or what type of grass that they're going to be putting in there. So
it's city right away, but they have the option to do what they want.
As far as landscaping it, yes, just like any other resident.
So the trees that are in that area are city trees? And
They are city trees, yes.
and if they don't like them, they can remove them?
No, as far as those trees goes, those are our trees, and we do go through there, and we do have to attend to them. But as far as the parkway, I guess that's what's called, between the sidewalk and the curb, or behind the curb, because our streets are 80-foot right-of-ways through here. So that means that we have 52, 54, and 56 wide streets. Some of the property line is 14 feet way deep into their front lawn. And so I guess it's just been something that they've done since the beginning of the city that take care of their entire frontage, and they're responsible for that.
Well, I thought they were going to utilize the trees. There's a councilman sitting at this group right now who would love to have a couple of trees.
Wake up, Ted.
I want to say thank you. The tree actually is growing. It's actually,
The leaves
I
are
have to
back.
check it because somebody stapled the leaves on it, but it's beautiful.
Not only water,
Ernie,
is it?
I'm publicly saying thank you. It's growing. That's going to make it. That tree's going to make it.
See?
Thank you, Ernie.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ernie.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. First of all, I would like to thank you on behalf of myself and other employees for considering all of us in your officer home loan program. I know that means a lot to all of us here to be considered along with the officers in that agreement. Now, to steal a line from the Public Works Department, we've been busy. We have 5 swim field trips left this year with only 15 openings out of 50 on those trips left. We have approximately 280 participants in our youth soccer program at this time. We are still in need of 3 coaches in the junior high division. If you know of anybody, would appreciate it, send them my way. Basketball camp began yesterday. This was last year. We had 26 participants. This year we have 36. And in my head, I could count 12 of them were returning participants from last year. And I just want to thank volunteer coach Chuck Messer. He's doing a great job with these kids out there. And all the kids are having a great time. And I also want to thank our student helpers, Chris Messer and Carrie Matthews, for all of their work. Questions?
Thank you. Oh, question?
Terry, just a quick question. Yeah, we're talking about redoing that floor.
You had to
Don't
bring
put
that
me on
up
the
again.
spot again.
No. Your comments were excellent. But I'm just wondering, back in, where I came from, Los Gatos in that area, but there was tons of kids playing that street hockey. And I'm wondering, in the wintertime with the rains and all that, if we could create leagues that, would there be enough interest, you think, with these kids that we could play that?
For street hockey in the winter?
In the street? Or
No, inside, on the gym floor.
Oh, they'll love that.
Oh,
Scraping
yeah, on that
up the
newly
new
finished floor.
Oh.
Oh, no. I mean, so make them play it in socks. I don't care, but.
Oh, not necessarily roller hockey.
Oh, no. I don't want roller. No roller skates.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
I thought you
but
meant roller hockey.
Oh, no. Kids play it without the roller skates.
I'm confused.
Back there. They didn't all have roller.
I was too for a minute.
Yeah. But I mean, something, just another activity that they could play, we could utilize that facility.
When you build me my gym, it's hard enough to get time as it is right now with the gyms, with our basketball program, with the school's usage, our usage. It's pretty well maxed out.
Maxed out. Okay. Just a thought.
Thank you. Any other staff reports? Stephanie?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I just wanted to say thank you as well for taking the time to read my letter about the police officer home loan program. And I agree with Terry and other, city employees that, we really appreciate the opportunity to also have an opportunity to buy a house, so thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Council member comments? Mike?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got a couple things this evening. First one, I'd like to say thank you for the new sidewalk along Yolo. Public Works doing a good job out there. It looks great. Ran into something the other day that I brought up a while back. We kind of changed the parking in front of Burger King in 33 to utilize the space there. And it was my idea that space was supposed to be used for trucks so that they'd have an ability to get off of Highway 33 and go into Burger King or the store or wherever they wanted to go. Well, unfortunately, I was in a big truck the other day. I was going to pull in there to use it, and there was a Blazer parked dead center in the middle of that, which sparked this councilman's comments. So I would like the chief to look into that to see if we can designate that as a truck parking area exclusively to give the people of the trucking industry the opportunity to utilize those businesses right there. Thank you. And I assume that we all received a letter from Jim DeMartini. I'm disappointed that he's not here tonight, and I would like us to respond to that letter. Did you all
Yes.
get about the ag
Yes.
preservation? So probably at the next council meeting, if he's not here, or if we could prepare a response to it or a discussion on it, I would like to do that. And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bob?
I have nothing tonight, Mayor.
Nothing? Ted?
I'd like to personally thank Mike and his staff for getting that banner, which will be up on Friday, hopefully, and looking forward to that. I'm still getting complaints about the stop sign on Canyon Creek, and I don't know what I can do. People are coming and walking by as I'm sitting out there trying to relax and saying that, and the cars do. And I know there's other streets within the city too that need this too, but they are really coming up, and there's some people really taking advantage of this. And even if we could have a police officer there for, even 15, 20 minutes or one night, and just to, because there's only like 4 or 5 people, I think, that really are, taking advantage of this. And the rest of them, it would slow them down. Not that the idiots, give them tickets. But the other people, just warn them. It's a 25-mile-an-hour zone here. Slow down.
How do you determine what's an idiot?
Well, somebody's doing 60.
Oh.
That's what I'm talking about. Oh, yeah, there's some. Yeah. But no, and I would love to see a stop sign there just to slow them down. But I mean, and I'd like to get that into progress and get these people off my case. So, thank you, sir. And that's all. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Ted. Ed?
Just real quick, I had gotten a couple emails and then had a couple people make comments to me, and I thought I was fairly clear at our last meeting when I'd asked that our staff possibly meet with the Gustine city manager and as some of the issues that you heard as well, John. And I just wanted to make it clear that in no way am I suggesting that we take care of Gustine's problems. That is not what I had in mind. I had a simple case of maybe we have some open dialogue, have some communication, and maybe they can resolve some of the issues that we have by us talking together. And quite frankly, I feel that City of Gustine, in terms of their police officer recruitment, need to come to our standard. Not that we're going to lower ourselves to their standard of hiring, whatever that might be. I'm just simply suggesting that we have open lines of communication, and maybe we can resolve some of the same issues that we both have. And that's simply all it was. And so the people that emailed me, and I emailed them back, and the people that questioned me, I answered it. I thought I was fairly clear, so I wasn't meaning to insinuate that that we pay our officers what Gustine officers get paid, and that's going to solve the problem. Quite to the contrary. I think if they want to resolve some of their issues, they need to come up to our standard, and which I always hold to be quite high. So hope that clarifies any misconceptions. I didn't think I clouded the issue that much. That's it.
Thank you, Ed. Just wanted to thank staff for putting on our agenda calendar of events. Just note that the Fall Festival is that first week in September there. And we
Forget that next time.
forgot that. Looks bad.
Mike, you forgot it.
And we have started our meetings, and our next meeting will be the 30th of this month, 6 o'clock at my house. Everyone's welcome, 1339 Stevens. We still need volunteers for other committees, so everyone's welcome to come. Also, before this meeting, we had a special meeting to talk about a couple of property negotiations, and I'm happy to be able to announce one of those have been settled. We've made an agreement with the L&B Hill Living Trust, which is at the corner of Indian and Merced Street, their property, which is the former property of Howard B. Hill's family, former mayor. We've signed an agreement to build our aquatic center there, and we've agreed with the appraised sum of $885,000. So that's good news. We've been working on that for a while, and that will be our site of our new aquatic center. I want to thank Michael and staff for putting many hours negotiating with the family on this matter, and we're very excited to move forward with that.
And Mayor, and I might just add, we anticipated the second meeting in August or the first meeting in September, we will be rolling out our conceptual plans for the aquatic center. You know, we've been working on the elements, and now we will arrange them to the site and bring out some conceptual plans for the council to review, for the rec commission to review, and for the public to review, to give us comments, so then we can refine those plans, take the comments, refine the plans, and come up with some schematic design, which is a more detailed plan.
Yeah, now that we have a site, we could move forward faster on.
Yes.
On those sites, to the specific sites. And that's all I had. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second that motion.